Hey everyone, Sam here. So in this video today, we are going to be going through kind of how to set up an LLC in Texas with 6 concrete steps. So setting up an LLC can seem fairly intimidating regardless of the state you're kind of doing it in, because there are a good amount of things to remember to actually do it right. And messing one of these up can be fairly easy to do. Whether it's setting up an operating agreement wrong or not quite understanding kind of the purpose of a registered agent and more, there are plenty of places to go wrong for sure. But that's what today's video is for. It's kind of to go step by step here for you, at least for the state of Texas. And a lot of this video could apply to other states as well, so just good to keep that in mind too. So let's get into these 6 steps, starting with the first one, and honestly a very important one. Determining your business type. I know, crazy that actually determining if an LLC will be right for you or even what you're actually looking for is first on the list. And likely if you're watching this video, then you're probably already aware that an LLC is kind of what you want, but it's important to note that there are other options like sole proprietorship, S corporation, and kind of more accompanied with all the other processes for each one in certain states. But the first step here is really just being sure that an LLC is actually what you want and you've done your homework on all the other options. Seems like it should go without being said, but here I am saying it. So step number 2 is naming your LLC. So in Texas, there are a couple of different things to keep in mind while kind of going through the naming process. You likely can't just pick the first name that kind of comes to the top of your head because it has to meet certain criteria and checks. Basically, it needs to be a business name that is not already in use in the state of Texas. So what that kind of means is you can't try to start a company called Starbucks as a coffee brand because there's already a company out there that is named that and does that. And the easiest way to kind of be sure if you're safe or not with the naming convention is every state will have a website where you can kind of search if a name is taken or not. And it's called the Taxable Entity Search. So kind of here we are at the search, and you can try a few ways, obviously, by tax ID, by entity name, or file number. For this purpose, you're trying to choose a name, so you'd use the search entity name option. And like I said, if I type in Starbucks here, and I hit search, obviously kind of all these are taken. Starbucks, corporation, holding US brands, kind of all taken. But if you go back, you want to go to a new search, and we call this Big Delicious Coffee or something, and you give it a search, was not found. So there's no records, so you're probably good to choose Big Delicious Coffee as your name. Just kind of be sure that your name is unique enough so you're not running the risk of being rejected, especially on your LLC application, and this site is kind of a good way to be sure of that. Now, that's one way to kind of assist you in naming your business, but I'd also recommend using the U.S. State's Patent and Trademark Office, kind of this website right here. You can do a search as a resource for federal trademarks, and this will really just kind of help you avoid things like potential lawsuits in the future if there's kind of an incredibly similar business and named years. It really could just help you save yourself a potential headache in the future. So to do that, you're kind of over here in the database. You'll click here, Trademark Search System, and you will essentially just kind of test it out. Again, so Starbucks, search, has all of these, variations, extreme, Starbucks coffee, triple shot, kind of all of that right here. And over on the left, you can obviously filter between live, registered, pending, or dead. Obviously, the live ones are kind of what we want. These are registered. You probably still can't use Starbucks. Now, if we go back and we try Big Delicious Coffee, and you give it a search, there are some kind of things here. Looks like you may be good. There's a Big Delicious, there's a Big Coffee, Big Delicious brand, Big Shoulders, Big Face Coffee. You might be good with Big Delicious Coffee. But this is really just kind of another database that would be good to look at least before kind of wasting your time with an application and money kind of naming your LLC just to fall under a trademark issue or a naming issue. So on to step number 3. It is to find a registered agent. And of course, if you all kind of want some help with a registered agent or even kind of a start to finish assistance with the whole LLC process, we have partnered with Northwest registered agent if you want to utilize them as kind of a resource. It will be linked below just to save some time. Make sure it's kind of done correctly and utilize a great registered agent as well. Anyways, now that you have your name, you will also now need a registered agent, which is basically someone who is at a physical location within the state during business hours, especially to take mail and things like that for any potential, lawsuits or other business needs. And you can use your house and kind of your primary location. I use can very loosely because this is going to now be public knowledge, meaning when someone searches kind of your business and your business name and you want to use your house in place of this, they'll have access to your home address, which can get dicey, or maybe you just want that separated for privacy. And no, you can't just use a PO box or a mailbox or anything like that. It has to have someone physically there during business hours. So if you're like a lot of people, you will likely opt to pay a registered agent for this service. All right, so on to step number 4. This is creating and submitting articles of organization. And this may differ per state, but for Texas, there are forms you just kind of have to fill out with information on your company, like listed. But again, there are services that offer to do all of this for you, kind of like Northwestern registered agents. So you can opt to have them help you, that you're kind of not missing anything and you'll make sure you do it correctly. Okay, step number 5 is creating an operating agreement. Again, likely can be done with services like kind of what we've been talking about, but it outlines who owns the company, what percentage of the company, outlines kind of the terms and different scenarios and events and life happenings. And it's especially helpful for really just kind of who owns the company if there are different sales or kind of equity splits within. No, it's not technically mandatory in Texas, or kind of in a lot of states it's not mandatory, but we still definitely highly recommend it just for the added benefit and outline of operating terms for your new company. Now to do this, like I said, you can use a service, but there are like templates and stuff I'm sure you can use online, but just make sure it's thorough and says exactly kind of what you want it to. You could go to a local lawyer as well, but they'll likely do the same things, just kind of pay for a cheap template and plug your info into it. And finally, step number 6 is to get an EIN, or an employer identification number. It's a 9-digit code provided by the IRS, or Internal Revenue Service, to kind of recognize your LLC for taxation. And you can get this via mail or online from the IRS. Very plainly speaking, this is the equivalent of a social security number for your new LLC. Again, using a service like Northwest Registered Agent, they'll do this for you and kind of walk you through the process. You can also apply on irs.gov. I believe it's pretty relatively simple. And so those are kind of the 6 steps, but for this kind of last part of the video, I really just kind of wanted to walk you through the features of how to get started within Northwest Registered Agent. I know I've been mentioning it all video, but just so you can kind of see and walk through it and see kind of how it might make your life easier, and we will leave the link below too. So here we are, just for kind of the registered agent service part of it. It looks like it's $125 a year. You'll select your state. So if you go all the way down, you click Texas, you click Get Started. So Big Delicious Coffee LLC is kind of what we wanted to go to. You can add all of these like trademark service, mail and forwarding, and virtual office, but it'll kind of go through your company, Big Delicious Coffee, your contact information, your account, business identity. There's a free 90-day trial, different optional items like I was kind of saying, and then a final payment info. And that's just the registered agent part of it. Of course, Northwest also offers kind of the full LLC service that I was talking about. And right here, you can kind of start an LLC, select your state again, go all the way down. Let's hit Texas. Cool. Start an LLC in Texas. And here, of course, you can use them as kind of a professional formation service. And this is just kind of the toggle for that. Obviously, you can use yourself, but if you want to use this, it just makes it a little easier on yourself. And then, of course, on the right over here, you can kind of see it all. Name your LLC, register your domain name, file Texas certificate of formation, operating agreement, get an EIN. You can open a bank account with it as well, file reports and pay taxes, kind of all of this within it. And it really just does it for you of kind of a full service LLC formation. And this service honestly is just kind of nice because it's all in one place. They stand in as your registered agent as well as other services for filing or forwarding or all that. Really kind of a one-stop all place when starting an LLC in Texas. And that's really it, just 6 steps using a resource like what I just showed you, or even on your own and just manually filing different things along there. There are things out there for sure to help you in this process, and I kind of hope this video was one of them. But I hope you all enjoyed. Anyways, I will see you all in the next video.